But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win. We choose to go to the moon.
All right, everyone, welcome to the 59th episode of the World Blockchain Roundtable. Our hosts for today are Dave from Dinda Social, Greg from Rivet, Lisa Maida Davis, aka Litecoin Lisa, Satoshi Sean, entrepreneur and everyone's friend, and we have a guest today, Adam Rosenthal, candidate for mayor of Gainesville, Florida, and I'm Joe, founder and architect of Dragonchain, and the official master of ceremonies for today. So a quick update on the World Blockchain Roundtable layer ownership tokens, the NFT distribution from last week's episode. So every host from last week will receive 95 lot. Every topic contributor will receive 27 lot. Last week's theme, which was NFTs on Instagram, you should go watch it, was suggested by Crypto Curious, who will receive 27 lot. These ownership tokens come with free edits in the layer, governance votes on how we change the show over time, and also passive income as people watch the show and do the things within the show. So we also have a DAO governance result, which is what to call the primary host. And the winning option was the master of ceremonies. And that's, the person who's reading the stuff and introducing everyone and going, keeping things on topic. And that's me today. We can change the name of that over time. It doesn't matter.
Thank God, because Grand Poobah is amazing.
Yeah, true. Did you vote? Did you vote? See, hey, because man, if you don't vote, you can't.
I know, it's just.
I voted other.
Thinking about that before I said anything, Joe.
I'm joking. I'm just giving you crap. Okay, that's awesome. Yes, I put Grand Poobah in there, but there were a couple that I didn't go out and ask people first, so I
have to wear the hat.
Oh, now there's something that would probably be
yes.
That would be smart. Okay, okay. So this week, the theme, which by the way, I provided this theme, which is current events. So essentially what we'll do is we'll go through, instead of going through current events at the beginning, we'll go through the questions as, reasonably speedily as we can. And we'll hit, and I knew this might happen because there's so many things that have happened in the past day when people have been essentially, adding topics through the week. So some of these topics might even be out of date by now, not even current events anymore, right? Because too much is happening in the world now, mostly bad, but still too much is happening. So is that all right? We'll just go straight in and we'll hit the questions. You guys good with that?
Cool with that.
Let us do it.
Well, I thought we had what? No.
Yes.
He said we hit the questions. Which means we're not doing the current events.
No, we are doing that. You showed up late to the game. We already have a plan. We're in motion.
Current events are, like you said, in the past day.
No.
Yeah, we're going to get to them. That's why we
trust the plan.
We know that there's a lot going on, especially when Lisa's trying to get us banned from YouTube. And
it's really hard for me to see anything on the screen because of this topic. Lisa's going to shine. So
All right. So, okay, first up, get your popcorn ready. Asks, what are the most relevant current topics in blockchain, the blockchain world right now? So, high level, what do you guys think?
Okay.
I could throw some in to get started.
Okay.
Stable
I would
coins,
say,
right?
Oh, good.
I would say that news, which if Ross was here, that'd be really cool. But using blockchain when it comes to news, and number one, immutability, number two, provability, and I think crypto is an important part in this when it comes to the verification of news. For I forget. What's it called? A nano. I did a review on a project that was amazing for it. If you were like a reporter or if you were putting out a story, you had to stake, and then you were rewarded for like the quality of the story and how so on and so forth.
Interesting.
You couldn't put out fake news, or it would
or
fail.
You get docked, right?
Yeah, you lose. You'd lose money. You wouldn't make anything. You would lose like a credit score. What's it called?
Rep.
Yeah, you lose rep. So
that's a great idea.
The whole system was really, really cool. I need to go back and look at the name of that. It's like a nano. Or
the interesting thing about that to me is hopefully it's on on something that's like an extra congested Ethereum, so that people who are submitting stories also have to pay a lot of gas.
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was. I think also no. That was a big thing for the rep. To put a story out, you had to pay a lot or stake a lot. But if you had amazing rep, you didn't. It was so much cheaper.
The problem is whistleblowers would be screwed. Sorry.
Not if
I've done so much. I know so many projects came to us and was like, we want to fix fake news
on there. They had great rep. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you could then have news organizations though too. Like a DAO could be your submitter, right? And the DAO can stake from its treasury. So you can still pool resources together. If you were trying to blow the whistle on something, you would just need to have people willing to support you.
I just know so many groups were trying to fix fake news that it was a question. It was like, well, who's deciding what is fake news? Because frankly, the mainstream media has been pushing fake news for generations, and now we're to believe that they should be the only. Internet comes out, and all of a sudden, fake news is a threat. I don't know. I don't buy it.
It's just another word for we don't want to have what happened during the Arab Spring ever again, right?
Especially in the West.
The point is more about suppressing dissent than it is anything else.
Yeah. So anyway, that's anyway. But beyond that, I would say DAOs, big news, it's a huge subject. Web3, obviously. And then failure of much of what is number go up. I'm going to declare that. It's like all of the people who were, let's go and we're going to give you 15% stuff that bankers can't do. 15%. Yeah, we're bankers also, but still go along with us and just lock your money over here. Trust us. You hate the banks. Trust us. And that's what happens. And it's just, instead of focusing on fundamentals and what we can actually do with this tech that's different, you had the entire crypto world just glomming onto the whole, let's just be junior bankers. Why? Number go up. Yeah. My number went up.
People too are saying like this is the crypto winter. I don't think so. I think this is more the centralization phony winter, because we didn't see failures of protocols that were properly organized and transparent. We saw failures of things that were pretending to be that while still run by basically what amounts to a bank at the center of it.
Yeah, well, and I think even more so. I mean, that is true, but I think even more so that the lack of what should be available transparency, that when you have some of those protocols that had multiple billions of dollars behind them, that didn't come from mom and pops or from ordinary people in the world. That was the world of the VCs, the world of the banks, that those guys put in tons of money into that stuff. And guess what? Those guys did not get screwed like the ordinary people that were in there. Right. They got out early. They got out fat. They knew it was coming. They might have even planned it.
Or they've frozen the service, right? Like, what's the project right now where if you put your money in there thinking it was a DeFi project, your funds are now in custody and you can't do anything about it?
DeFi, yep.
It was, I can't think of the name of it right off the top of my head. I feel like it starts with a C or an S.
John, Celsius?
Yeah, Celsius.
Oh, yeah, Celsius, yep. Yeah, that's multiple billions. I mean, just like Luna. It's like, where'd that money come from? It's like that. You think the legitimate projects that could have possibly used it.
It's like Luna, because that was
We almost put some of our company treasury in there. We would have been hosed if we would have done that.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Like Luna. That Celsius was like, that was like the crypto bank. It really was. Yeah. And there was so many, like you could say red flags because you're like, well, we're junior bankers, but it was really held as like the pinnacle of, security and. Yeah, and this is like big boy.
And so you see now, anybody who's trying to legitimately do something with blockchain now, going to the business world, now has that shit to contend with, right?
Yeah,
that's why I will rail against number go up bullshit forever. I don't care how much excitement it brings. It's like a YouTube excitement matters none at all to adoption, right? What matters is adoption, and if you're going to put the adoption into the ring of junior banker stuff or things that aren't really what they claim to be, then it hurts the entire thing.
That said, it is kind of a functioning markets thing, right? Like we expect people to die like that in a free market. If they fail so completely.
You say that, except that the projects that are trying to, like, say my project, you could talk about Library, I could talk about Ripple, even I could talk about other projects that I would say have been. The regulators come in and try to do things.
Oh, yeah.
Projects who live outside that realm or who don't give a shit about trying to do, legal things can do whatever the hell they want. And that's how you end up with, because I guarantee to you that there was old world style Wall Street manipulation in those two projects at least.
Well, Hodl Signal makes a good point on that. It started out as peer-to-peer, and then so many projects, 99%, Den. They all start out with, well, we're getting off the ground, so there's a bit of centralization, but our goal is to move to fully decentralized and blah, blah, blah. And with Celsius, they got big, they got powerful, they got money, and then they moved away from it. Instead of keeping that as the goal, where that would have really fixed a lot of stuff, to always go for as much decentralization as possible so you don't have these problems.
Right. They did a Web 1 to Web 2 transition repeat fail, basically.
Which was great
for the mistake that all the first time the internet got.
Would have been great for adoption. Everything would have worked well if they had really kept moving in the direction that they started in. Mm-hmm. But then, what's the guy who started it became crypto rock star, and he was important, and then he got courted by all the, Wall Street money, and it moved to junior banker. That's just such a perfect analogy. Is just, you want to be a junior banker. You don't want to be.
How many free private jet flights can your ideals suffer before they vanish?
Yeah. Man, rough stuff. Okay. Is there any other? I think that's the big high level stuff. Dragonchain Hodler, question: do you see this bear market potentially lasting longer or crashing way harder than the average crypto bear market? I think when Amazon crashed 95%. What do you guys think? I have some thoughts, but this is so hard to predict. I'm going
to go out on a limb and say crypto is going to come out of this way faster than the rest of the market. But if there's risk of this, it's coming from whatever institutional money is still left in crypto. If you want to put on a conspiracy theory tinfoil hat, you could say maybe Jamie Dimon's turn towards liking crypto had a lot more to do with him wanting to amass liquidity so that when the market tanked, he could try to tank it. Mm-hmm. But even if that's not the case, the institutions are the ones selling. I don't think the core of the actual community that uses it is at risk of just capitulating and quitting. And I think because of that, we may be at or near the very bottom, and we may see this market rebound well before the rest of the world does.
Yeah, I 1,000,000% agree with Greg. And to answer the actual focus on the question, No, it is not going to be longer than other bear markets. I think the last one we had was like World War II versus Iraq. I mean, it's like it's a huge bloody battle versus. Oh, that was very terrible. That was bad, but it's nowhere near going to be as bad. I think it was shorter. I think it was faster. I think we're going to come back faster. I think because so much of the last one was all number go up in speculation and not quite scam projects, but people were just willing. It was like the .com bubble. They're just willing to throw money at anything.
Which one? This DeFi one or the 2018 one?
The 2018. I think there were so many.
You don't think DeFi? You don't think the DeFi one? People buying? What the hell were they? You remind me some of the tokens that came out.
It was the food coin era, right?
Yeah. Sushi. I don't even remember.
All the swap coins is what we're talking about, right?
But there were some even worse ones. Why
is it always so hard for me to say that? Swap.
Yams? Wasn't there like some potato one or something?
Yeah, there was the yam one. And actually, I was really good friends with am really good friends with the developer who was sort of behind that project. And the crazy thing about it is he's brilliant, right? Like he's working on great stuff to this day. But but there was just a situation where no matter how many times and how loudly and how accurately people repeated this is an experimental project. Do your own research. Don't invest more than you can lose. This is probably going to go to zero. We haven't even vetted this. Nobody seems to care.
And last time,
to fail.
I mean, there was a Silicon Valley coin, and then they came out and said, "Hey, there's the fake company that's against them coin." There was a lot of joking around, and it was just, "Hey, throw away your money, dude," and people did. But I think so much of the you could have just said, "Hey, man, I got an idea." As I was explaining blockchain to like family members, I'd be like, "Well, in your industry, if you do this and this, and you could use this," and I was like, "That's actually a pretty good idea. I'm going to talk to some people about that and see if we can get something going." It was so easy to start an ICO, have some friends, put something out there, and make $10 million to $100 million. That didn't happen this go around. There was meme coins, there was DeFi, but there was something there. It wasn't just an idea or a dude.
I don't know about that. In fact, it was. If you look at the thing, who was it? The guy in Boston who was used to be president of Bitcoin Foundation. I'm blanking on his name. He had that hilarious video where he said, "I'm gonna explain DeFi to you," and he drew some stuff on there, and he scratched some stuff, and he circled some stuff, and he set it on fire. Remember that was what it was. Because anytime you listen to it, it's like, wait a minute. So I stake my tokens here, and I get these over here, and I have to take those and stake them over there. And the more complex it was, the better it did. And it made no effing sense at all.
But see, there's so much DeFi out there.
Just liquidity lockup after liquidity lockup, right?
DeFi is the way that I pay my bills, though. DeFi is the reason that I retired. DeFi is the reason that I'm still paying my bills. And I'm down 70% on my farms, on everything, just because of the market.
See, it is that is the thing. It is I think probably more profitable. And here's my issue with life in the world. It's probably more profitable to follow what will the average idiot buy in this market compared to what is actually exciting and probably useful and utility bound. That is the way to make it rich.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
Short term.
With DeFi, you had to have a product. It could be a terrible product. It could be a shit product. It could, be confusing. But it was a product. Whereas the last time, you didn't even need a product. You just needed a website, and it didn't have to do anything. I can remember where a coin would pump 30%, and the only reason is because the website changed color.
It's so dumb. I remember.
The cool thing about that, though,
thing that happened multiple times. Is there would be YouTubers like, "Hey man, it's coin pump 30."
Oh yeah, we would get
fuchsia to coral.
Because I will tell you that the typical trader would say, "Wait, here's a pattern. It's a repeating pattern. If they change their website, it'll pump. So what I need to do, I'm going to buy this, but I'm going to ask you in a private DM and Telegram, hey, are you going to be changing your website anytime soon?" I'm like, dude, it's like, that doesn't matter. What are you talking about? It's like, oh, well, if you change your website, it's just stupid stuff.
I was trying to agree with you, but I didn't realize that I had myself turned off on the mic was muted and stuff. But I was trying to agree with Sean there and say, like, you know, it is the case where we're still so very early that we just got out of the, like, almost the proof of concept phase, where the first cycle was like, an idea is like, you know, like me sitting around with my buddies getting stoned thinking about, like, bro, what if we did this and this? I'm like, oh man, write that down, spin up a token, you know?
Yeah.
And then this last kind of phase, I guess, seemed like there was at least some MVPs or proof of concepts, not fleshed out and proven, not anything you should put money
sitting
into.
Around getting stoned
really
with VCs. That's how it was.
Yeah.
Well,
here's a check, man. All
now
right.
the proof of concept phase is sort of like out of the way, and now it's almost time for MVP. It's almost time for minimal viable product phase. I hope utility phase. Is what I'm thinking.
I think though we have to have some respect for that time period and sort of the liberty people need to have to fail in order to learn this stuff, because we've had laws that have kept regular people from investing in the really amazing things that happened in, like, the first internet boom. And there were so many that failed, but the people who really made the most money at it, you know, and this is now worse after 2010 and some of the regulations that were passed, you know, they didn't get a crack at any of this stuff before it was already on the public market. And now when you trade it, once it goes public, all of the real value and growth is sucked out of it.
Yep. And isn't it interesting? Because I remember being in startups back then when I first discovered Bitcoin, 2010, that I was actively looking for. I mean, I can't even remember the name of it. There was a marketplace that actively sold securities. I'm like, I never bought any. They were like crypto securities because it was too. I just watched it. I was like, is this real, right? And at that time, the traditional infrastructure was trying to introduce a crowd sale model that would fit in. So kind of the intermediary, which would be like formalization of something like Kickstarter, and it was really kind of lame. It was it was so light that it wasn't really that useful to a startup. You still had to go to VCs, and it's obvious. It's like, oh, the whole funnel is built, maintained, lobbied, controlled by the VCs. So if you want to start up in the US, guess what? You better find a golfing buddy that's networked with somebody in Northern California.
There's also a great war, though,
right?
Like, people who prefer debt financing are not fans of VCs, and they also have a pretty big stake in the political process.
People who prefer debt financing. I guess so. Yeah.
It's sort of like the whole lending world, and then there's the whole equity world, and they're almost kind of warring ideals.
And then there was the whole token world, which was open to anyone, and that has effectively been shut down. And it surprises me that someone else hasn't just taken up and really said, you know what, you can come here and legitimately do an ICO, and we'll make it possible for you to shield yourself. I'm surprised that hasn't happened in some small country in the world. Yeah, it's just because that. I do believe the token sale model, which, like you say, it's not debt, it's not an equity, it is a utility token. Yeah. If that were allowed to thrive, that is what should have been seen in this revolution, because you can look at 2018 and yes, there were a lot of crappy projects, but there were a lot of good projects.
Oh yeah, it was the only time you ever saw anybody launching space projects. That's for sure.
Yeah,
like real things that people had ideals behind.
Yeah, and in my opinion, it was relatively easy to see which projects were actually legitimate. It's like I don't know anyone who invested in what was the one that they finally went after with Carlos, what's his name on it? I don't know anybody who put money into that. Yes. BitConnect, and OneCoin was the other one, right? I don't know anyone who put money into that, because everybody in the know would tell all of the normies, it's like, do not put your money there, right? In fact, what became this show was the Seattle Blockchain Seattle meetup group. Ended up becoming World Blockchain Roundtable, right? We had a call. We had a meeting once where this one lady was there and was talking about this, and one of the other guys is like, do not put, like demanding she not put her money in there, because she was effectively say, I heard about this thing. And you just think about that. I mean, all that stuff happened anyway. But it was the first time that normal people could put money in and actually get in early on some, Decentraland, which I think Decentraland is going to be a long-term thing, along with a lot of the other metaverse projects, right? Anyway, okay. Let's see here. Jacob Wayne, question: since life is typically a pendulum, do you have high hopes for general commerce as blockchain tech brings us out of the current darkness? Full disclosure, I haven't personally felt the darkness, only have heard about it. Okay.
I want to say I'm interested in what Adam has to say about this, because he's running for mayor of the city I live in, and we've had some conversations about stuff like this in the past. So, Adam, do you have any thoughts on this? I just want to interject.
Absolutely.
You're new here, and I don't know if you have to just barge in. So, I wanted to throw your bone.
Oh, I'm learning a whole lot on more of the the microcosm of everything that you're speaking about. But it's like the macroeconomics of this is what's always interested me, and I do believe that blockchain tech, specifically cryptocurrencies, are going to be able to help us get out of it if we adopt it more. The basis of the American dollar is that it's not backed by anything other than the faith that it's going to be spent. If we put that same faith into crypto, we're going to be able to build an economy like we've never seen before. It's more money will be more accessible to more people, and it's going to have more fluidity with general commerce.
Oh yeah.
Why I'm voting this guy?
This is it, yeah. No, that's it. Because I'll tell you, like, say here in Bellevue, we knew the mayor. We had her into the office multiple times. Friendly, everything else. But when it came down to how can you guys actually use this tech, we couldn't get anywhere. Like we couldn't, not parking meters, no. Parking, no. Taxes, reporting, no. And it was,
and that's a huge topic in Gainesville. And Adam knows this.
And recorders of deeds would be so sensible.
But
exactly.
The parking, the
They
city
don't want
right
the
now,
accountability.
we're spending money on spinning wheels about parking rules, and how the fines should be, or if they should be, or how long the spots should be, and if it damages local businesses to charge a parking fee, or all of this stuff. And nobody except for Adam that I've heard has been talking about the fact that there is technology to fix that without going to some tech bro who has a startup idea who thinks he can fix your fucking parking problem.
Yeah.
That kind of
and by the way,
how else can you do public goods projects without having it be a public system, right?
Yeah.
You end up with this special interest problem otherwise.
Yes.
But don't you think that a lot of the pushback is because there is so much accountability with cryptocurrency? There is, for years now, money has been disappearing with, going into these systems, having all, these audits. We've been asking for, if you go into, where's this money going in Ukraine? Where's this money going? Where did it go in Afghanistan? They're refusing to disclose that to we the people. Yep. And I think that's why you're getting so much pushback when you try to use cryptocurrency in commerce and in government. And I think they're going to continue because they've been wanting to, put this stuff, I don't want to get us kicked off of more channels and stuff, but
you're going to have to say
the money goes.
Hold your tongue, right?
I've said this multiple times. We had a call with the state. Is the what is it? WTF? Anyway, it's the tech group, right? I can't remember her name. In fact, we remember, and we had
World Technology Forum, WTF.
Sorry,
right? That's what we remember.
What is it? I'm just totally blanking on it. Anyway, we were on a call, and there were 3 different projects, not wanting to compete with each other, but wanting to help the state with, and it was right after the election. It was like, hey, we could help fix that problem so that our state doesn't have that problem. And it was like, no, that'll never happen. Nope. And it was obvious they don't want the transparency. So it becomes this really weird thing when you're like, we have a solution, but if
I think further up, and maybe Adam, you can speak to this. I think further up you go into more remote forms of state power, the further you get from accountability for administrators. Yeah. And that's why I think the local level is unique. And because there's so much, like they're your neighbors, so you can't you can't act like somebody working for the EPA who doesn't give a damn about what's going to happen to the guy on the street, because you have to see him at Sunday brunch or whatever.
Yeah.
Dave, just read through the chat. But he had a filter problem sometimes. I swear.
Yeah, I dropped F-bombs just randomly.
You wrote, I have a fiber problem sometimes. What are they talking about in chat? Okay.
Talking about my mouth.
I will say too about local level that it's an opportunity for them to compete, for business and for the community, because like things like the parking, you can imagine in Seattle, the parking is horrible. You're always parking in some place where there's a tent camp or there's feces. You have to be careful where you step and crap like that. In Bellevue, it's just that they don't want any parking downtown. They want you to take because they want a virtue signal.
Did Chad have a parking plan?
Well, I think so. Well, that's the thing. It's a marketplace, and it's an imperfect marketplace because if I get there early, I get Rockstar parking. It shouldn't be like that. It should be like, Rockstar parking, I'll pay more because I'm running late or because I'm lazy. And if I don't want Rockstar parking, I was like, I'll walk a block. I'm okay. To me,
the thing is, cars should be doing that for us. Like,
yes,
I don't want to think about parking.
But the states don't.
Why doesn't my car have a wallet?
Yeah. The states don't, because Detroit doesn't want. The states don't want us to have that yet. So.
Right. Because if it automatically paid, then those lucrative fines would go away, and a lot of good people at the administrative court would have nothing to do.
Yes. Yeah. If the car's good driver and it's like, hey, your parking is low, I'm gonna pay it for you. Okay. Anyway. Okay. Earth Dragon question: can a token like Celsius ever be recovered in price? I know I'll have to wait years, but is it possible? Could someone buying them out be the answer? Now, if someone buys them out, they're not going to buy the tokens out.
Anything's possible, but it's profoundly unlikely.
Yeah, if you don't have any rights in it, they're going to buy the IP. They're going to say, "Screw you, token holders." That's what they will do.
Yeah, it's related to where I had kind of mixed feelings about the first question, so didn't really chime in too much. But on one hand, with the bear market, is it going to continue? On one hand, I see things like the actual failed old Luna tokens being traded and pumping, right? The ones they pivoted away from, and they're calling it Luna Classic and UST Classic, and UST Classic is trading at 6 cents on the dollar or something, right? And so I would have hoped that what happened would have been an illustration of what not to do, but then all over again, it's did you not learn anything from that? So that makes me feel like the bottom is nowhere to be seen. It's nowhere near.
Honestly, if you think that's coming back, I'm sure the Fed has a lot of mortgage-backed securities they'd like to sell you.
Right. Well, this is where I have conflicting opinions, and I haven't decided yet. But at the same time, I also feel the bear market ended yesterday, from what I can see, because it is true that people are having real conversations about actual tech now more than they were before. To me,
World Blockchain Roundtable probably needs to put together a little public service announcement where the more you know, with the star flying across and saying it's like you should not put in more money than you would care to, or that you'd be upset about if they walk away with it, right? This is crypto, and if you don't hold the damn keys, then you should assume it's going to be walking away, right?
Right. Well, I mean, and more beyond that, unless somebody's repurposing it in a way that you can understand in a clearly articulable manner, maybe, for example, a company like Rivet, for example, would start accepting them as a form of payment for something. I could see them coming back in a case like that, because you could see directly what you were getting in exchange for your 1 unit of Celsius. But it just, to me, it seems like
the thing is, though, that's
other
artificial
great risks.
too. That's artificial too.
Haven't failed once.
It would make sense short term for Rivet to do that, because you get potentials like, well, I have $10 million worth of shit now, and it's not worth 10 million. So where can I spend it? Is a short term thing, right? Because at some point, and would you accept them at a dollar? It's like, no, you'd accept them at market. So it becomes a weird thing. And anybody who's going to do something legitimate is just going to make a new token. Guess what? So it's kind of a weird thing that if there's no real utility there, And then the rest of it is, oh yeah, it is partially centralized, so you're going to have to trust the people who have already done what they've done. Yeah, I don't think so.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the key. Like, I think that's really the biggest key. If it's truly decentralized, then it can't be manipulated. But if it's not,
and by the way, here's an indicator as to whether where you are philosophically. I wish I would have had money in Luna or in Celsius, because I didn't touch them. Right, I was too busy. Not that I wouldn't have. I was just too busy to do much. If you would have lost money there, and let's say it wasn't like an earth-shattering generational level, like some people did lose, but it was, I lost a few grand there. Like, say I had money in the original The DAO, right? The first decentralized autonomous organization, supposed pretty cool ideas. Is like, it was very, very vague, but I put money in just because functionally it was an experimental project. I wanted to see how this worked. And when it failed, I woke up, I believe it was a weekend morning, and I looked because there were some threads that were on my notifications on my phone, and I'm like, holy shit, somebody's emptying the funds. And I had a smile across my face. As stupid as it was, I lost money. It was like, I'm losing that money. But
you had no illusions about that when you went in.
Right. It was hilarious to me, because it was like, holy shit, the code is the law. And therefore, this is not an illegal thing. This is someone who went in and saw that, oh, here's a hole. Like, let's fiddle with it.
I think that's a great illustration of how what is quote unquote successful and profitable, and what is quote unquote right and moral is not necessarily the same thing. Because on moral grounds and on philosophical grounds, Ethereum Classic, I believe, was correct. They did the right thing. Because the exploit wasn't like, it was a bug, sure, but it wasn't like somebody something outside.
It's a kingdom of conscience or nothing at all, basically.
It was allowed within. It was allowed within the structure of how it was set up.
And that was, by the way, in my opinion, this is the controversial opinion that will show up, that was also unknowing. I did not know this at the time. That was an indicator of what we are now seeing uncovered with some of the Ethereum network, that there are forces behind it, money forces, that are really affecting it's like there's lobbying. So this decentralized organization is lobbying, probably illegally, regulators, and that was the first indicator. Because
but
frankly,
you're saying like, don't hate the player, hate the game kind of thing.
No, I say hate the people who play the fucking game.
Okay.
Fuck yeah.
You gotta hold them responsible.
So
like parallel systems,
because that stuff, they had the opportunity to do what Ethereum Classic did. It's like, fuck this. We said this. Therefore, we're gonna stick to our guns, because I think they frankly set the crypto world back by years.
That's why I'm still bullish on ETC and why Rivet still supports them. Right? Like, we actually we provide most of the RPC capacity for
really?
ETC.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love you. That's awesome. I know we took tons of flack. It's like, oh, it's a dead project. Why are you even doing that? And for us, it was a philosophical point. Not even that Ethereum was right, Classic was right, and Ethereum was wrong. It wasn't that. It was that the variety in what we do was essential and important. And in fact, it showed a really good purpose for the way that we do consensus, because when Ethereum Classic did drop down, it didn't affect us, because we still had Ethereum and Bitcoin.
Well, and layer one proof of stake looks a lot like control by the wealthy. And I think that the proof of work actually has a more a stronger case for being equitable. In terms of
what's even better than
opportunity.
You know what's even better than that? I mean, proof of work for security, I think, is the most amazing thing ever. I don't care what environmentalists might think. Proof of work is radically important.
Oh, every time I hear an environmentalist say that, and they're arguing that we don't have blockchains and that we stick to the existing monetary system, I wonder if they're thinking about all the smelters and all the strip mining that goes into all the ore necessary to create the coins.
The people arguing against proof of work, they have the right idea. They just don't know they're wrong. Okay. Yeah. And I this is something that I'm really
I think they have the right idea.
Trying to figure, I'm starting to try to more like talk to more people locally about this who have strong opinions on proof of work versus proof of stake, but they're not crypto people, they're not software people, they're not even political science people. They are people who have heard things that make sense, right? And here's the thing: there's logical arguments against proof of work that you can make towards an environmentalist to get them fired up, right? The problem is
they're broken logics.
The thing to me that I see is that the conversation is on the wrong topic, and it seems to be intentionally on the wrong topic. And when I say wrong topic, I mean the use of energy being bad or good, right? Yeah. Conservation of energy is fantastic. We should not waste energy. But we also shouldn't we shouldn't artificially reduce the energy that is available to us, because it's done amazing things for human life and culture and development. Well, the problem is where the hell we get it from. The problem is where it costs to make that.
That is the market-based thing, because and I don't know the total truth of all the details, but let's say if it is true that a modern windmill never produces as much energy as it took to create it, and it's a carbon. Right? That they are radically inefficient, that they are very expensive to set up, all the rest of that. And it's a subsidized industry. Market forces would not have us using wind yet. At some point, maybe it'll be valuable. Maybe there'll be something there, right? Right now, nuclear is the right way to go, but some people don't want nuclear, right? So you think about all these things, and when you're talking about proof of work, it's a distraction. Because the proof of work is important because it's measurable. It's the first time in human history it's been possible. In fact, it affects history and things like Orwellian action. That they wouldn't be able to change history if we are using blockchain well. Now, beyond that, about whales, real quick, the thing that I didn't get to say a couple of points back was that behavior is the answer to it. Because you can have an extremely equitable system that can leverage proof of work, proof of stake, and leverage other things, but you can essentially counter any whale action with a behavior system as long as you have clear goals and a scalable blockchain.
Well, I just want to throw in the obvious killer to the anybody wants to argue about proof of work being somehow destructive to the environment without considering the existing financial system. Open your Maps app and Google bank branches. Think of all the people driving. Think of all the people going there to work. Think of all the power that's required to run them. There is no middleman in crypto. That is just the proof of work algorithm replacing all of that bullshit. You can't tell me that is not more power efficient
in any town.
Adopted.
In any town, all of the best buildings. Like you go through a third world country, and all the best buildings are either banks or churches. And it's the oddest thing, because the people have just the hobbles, crap. It's like, oh, it's a nice building. Oh, it's a bank or a church. Always.
Marble steps.
Yes.
I shared a link in the private chat. There was a new fusion power station that was created that's supposed to mimic the sun to provide limitless energy. So they're finding new power resources as well, which I think is going to be really interesting.
The Weapons Research Lab in Los Alamos did some recent really big breakthroughs in terms of almost achieving like a net acceleration, basically. Although I'm not a big fan of the European one, because it's taken way too long to build.
Well, if you see that shape on the image there, like I was watching some results from AI tests where they couldn't figure out how to focus I don't know what you call it, the loop, the beam, the ring, the stuff, the plasma. And they couldn't figure out.
You guys want to, since Adam has to leave real fast, do you want to give him the floor for a second just to...
Actually, yeah, let's do that. Adam's got an election to win, so he's going to go do stuff.
If you win, I'm moving to Gainesville, by the way.
Yeah, so on your way out, thank you for stopping in for as long as you could, even though you're busy. Do you want to say anything on your way out for us, sir?
Well, just that I absolutely love being able to listen to you get into the weeds with all this and share all the details that, frankly, I'm not exposed to it. And the more I understand it, the more I, have faith that, blockchain technology is going to be able to help us get out of, the darkness that the one guy was talking about. But, like you said, I don't see the darkness either. All I see is the light. blockchain is rooted in love for your community, and that's one of the most important parts of humanity. It's what separates us from everything else. So the more that we invest in that love for each other, the more we're going to be able to lift everyone up.
Couldn't have said it better myself, man.
Thanks, Adam.
No, thank you. I greatly appreciate this opportunity, and I look forward to chatting with you guys again soon.
Yep, come back anytime.
Good luck, Adam.
All right, thank you. All right, have a great day.
See you. Okay.
So yeah, I was saying like AI fixed the problem with stabilizing whatever they were doing, right? And to even further, it created something that they didn't know was possible, which was not just the one. It was designed for like one beam to stabilize or whatever it was, right? But they got three. They were able to. Are
you talking about on CERN?
I'm talking about not on CERN. No, I'm talking about like 6 months ago, maybe. Like they had done a few seconds where they were like, all right, can we get one stable beam? We've never been able to do it. So they did.
Yeah.
Like, all right, what else can we do that's crazy? And then applying this AI stuff. And it was able to, the reason is it's able to on the fly adjust all the parameters just rapidly as everything's fluctuating. And so they're like, all right, what else can it do? And it was able to, and it wasn't even designed for this, but it was able to split that one into three sections, like a big one and two small ones that were all in parallel. And it was like, holy shit, they're getting somewhere doing stuff that they didn't expect. This might be soon, And the other thing I always keep talking about and thinking about whenever I'm, having armchair conversations is like fission itself isn't inherently bad. It's just kind of the way we do it has sucked.
Well,
so
actually, yeah,
there's room
totally killed it.
There's room for things like, not uranium, not whatever the other one is. And I don't know how far along China's thorium reactor is, but it looks marketable already.
I've heard third generation as nuclear energy tech, that stuff, like there's no waste because the waste is reusable as fuel in a second cycle. They basically have it set up in such a way that what comes out of the waste of the first cycle can be consumed in the second cycle, and then what comes out of the second cycle can be consumed in the first until it's all gone. So it just sort of bounces back and forth, and all of the byproducts, all the waste are actually really short half-life, quick decay type of things that you don't have to worry about long-term storage with.
I think it would be cool. Speaking of long-term storage, I think it'd be cool, or meltdowns, if SpaceX got into the nuclear power plant business. Elon's pro-nuclear, so I was just thinking, what if your reactor was a Starship, and if anything went wrong, it could just blast off into the sun and go away?
Well, they had in the 60s, they were experimenting with nuclear-based rocketry. Yeah, and they put a can on it because it became unpopular. But
what I understand is they put a can on it because like there was one super fortress flying thing, whatever it was called, like 24/7, like air patrol. I don't know.
You guys are talking about one of my favorite projects.
And there was a thorium-based reactor in an airplane so that it could stay flying all the time. But you can't make weapons out of thorium reactors. You can't take that tech and further refine it into weapons grade material. So if they had to pick one, they picked one that they could that could double as a weapon, and not only double as a weapon, but you could hide the processes of creating the weapon by pretending to make nuclear power plants for your civilian use, right? Stuff with like Iran and other countries that have done the same thing. So it's interesting that there was a choice that was made, and that's what I think is weird.
So guys raise your hand if you've heard of Project Orion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
This was literally probably an intersolar system, but potentially interstellar spacecraft. That's propulsion system was based on releasing nuclear bombs, detonating them at distance from the craft, and riding the shockwave.
Yep. Beautiful. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, I have seen that. Yeah.
That was a real design.
That's like the same thing that we used. So
the aliens complained. They
I don't know if
our crap out there is what it was. So,
but today in the modern
braking would be dangerous for the destination, though.
We treat open sea as if it's outer space, right? Still today, like that's exactly the attitude that we still have. So I remember when the first time I experienced this on my first deployment, I realized we had 300 people on a 500-foot boat, and we created trash and garbage and all kinds of nasty stuff. And the moment we had to dump it all in the sea was the moment I realized, like, really? Like, we still do this kind of thing? So I just imagine, like, that's how it was when we were testing nuclear weapons, was we were just blowing up the ocean. Like,
The-
there's nothing
Well,
out
and
there.
before
first
that, we
object to
were
leave the
blowing
solar
up the
system.
desert.
Yeah,
Before
so
that, you know.
We're going to go out of the environment. We'll leave the environment and we'll do our nuclear testing out there in the ocean, away from the environment. You know.
Yeah.
So I just imagine that there's like in space, there's something we don't think of, like extra dimensional beings who see all these nuclear explosions that peek through to their own realm, and it's like, what are we screwing up right now that we don't know?
Yes, things we'll care about later.
So another funny piece of trivia, guys. The fastest moving object that humans have ever created was actually a manhole cover from an underground nuclear test that it probably burned up in the atmosphere, but it got launched into space before Sputnik if it didn't, and it was moving at such a velocity that it would have been the first thing that we ever launched into interstellar space.
Did it have a picture of man and woman on this? So when the aliens see it,
Oh no, it was just like you can see a video in slow motion of this thing getting blasted off.
That's awesome.
It's ridiculous. The velocity of it was something like 10 times the specific impulse of a SpaceX rocket.
Wow. Okay.
What did I miss? Because I
you're good.
Stuff.
You're good. You missed a couple of things about thorium reactors and things.
Well,
we missed your input.
You brought up nuclear, and I think the whole issue with everything from like Ethereum on, it's really about educating people. Like I've had almost arguments, on our show, Lisa and TPA, because I'm always, bring up that nuclear power is safest, cleanest, and everyone's like, what are you talking about? Because people only know Fukushima, 3 Mile Island. People don't even know that there's like multiple kinds of nuclear reactors for energy.
I don't argue with you. I wonder why,
It's TPA.
that the children are the ones that are deformed from, where is that in Chernobyl, but no animals were.
There actually were animals. There's plenty of
Maybe they just died
There
off.
are animals were.
They got a lower lifespan.
In fact, there have been a lot. Now there have been a lot of studies on types of insects that had there was some evolutionary selection.
Yeah, there's
that
like been
they
positive.
were able to.
I guess you could say positive, or like
just think
superpowers that were given to certain animals and insects and stuff in that area.
Yeah.
But people don't know that there's different kinds of nuclear reactors, like the sodium.
You're talking a molten sodium reactor,
and I don't know exactly.
That's the thorium reactor I was talking about. China gets it out of salt.
Molten salt.
But right now, you guys are seeing like all this, like Boucle just posted with the red rivers running. There was a poisoning of another. You're seeing all this like
that's
water
another thing, like
being
with
poisoned. I'm trying to put a couple of links.
What's it called, Greg? The salt one.
Oh, it's a molten salt or
molten salt. Molten salt thorium reactor. There's like hardly any nuclear waste, and it's not even like bad.
Yeah.
Right. It melts down safely. The way it's designed is it doesn't
currently
need operation. It doesn't need to stay in operation to be safe. The way it's designed is it melts down just because it doesn't use the same like cooling mechanisms and stuff. Yeah. It just dumps all the dangerous stuff into the ground below it, and then nothing spreads anywhere, and it's fine.
Up until the recent past, a lot of the, Europe was doing a lot of nuclear work and advanced reactors that were much safer than the older generations, and yet I think through virtue signaling and other things, they're kind of going away from that. So
and then there's sort of a core of misanthropy just running through all of it, right? Like if you ask the typical like catastrophist environmentalist about the potential for fusion power to liberate people from energy dependence and just have it be unlimited, they're like, that's the worst thing fucking ever, because human beings are a plague on the planet and that would unleash them unlimitedly and therefore bad. Like the people that are arguing that we shouldn't use that think human beings are a disease. And
and I will say,
it's just
we've had like say people who've come over here from China that when they drive around, they're like looking around. And it's like there's all this empty space, and this is in Seattle. It's not even like if you grew up in the Midwest where you could drive for hours and hours and hours, and there's there might stay a couple of grain silos and stuff like that, but there's plenty of room on the planet, number one, and guess what? There are other planets. So it's like it's kind of crazy to think that unlimited energy would not be good.
The cornucopian version of the future exists. It's floating in the freaking asteroid belt.
Yes. Yep. And virtue signaling will keep us from getting there. So, okay, next up, the crocodile asks, can you discuss potential reasons that Bitcoin could crash more than 85% this cycle? Since everything is crashing, some experts are predicting Bitcoin may crash more than usual. If it does, would you agree this would lead to an even stronger recovery?
I think he says the reason in his question. He said because everything is crashing, because the dollar's dying, because the
can I bring some up there?
I got a tinfoil hat for this one.
Okay, absolutely.
We all do.
All the things.
What if, in theory, you were opposed to decentralization and you saw this coming early because you were really fucking smart? So you bought huge bags of Bitcoin early on and became a whale with the notion in mind that at the right moment you would strike and dump it as hard as you could, just to fucking kill it if you could. That is the risk, that somebody still holding it is waiting for the weakest point, the
Like
point where
Satoshi
it starts to almost recover, and then dumps it all in the market.
Well, worse than that, if it isn't even
that would send
Satoshi,
the price spiraling.
Satoshi knowingly picked a cryptographic curve that is already mastered behind the scenes. That there's already that's the risk that I think is very potentially likely. It'd make total sense to me if they did that. I wish I would have treated it like an investment and come in, because not having, to your point, not having predicted Bitcoin maximalism and dudes in freaking yellow pants going around and tearing up dollar bills and stuff on stage. I would be that person. It's like, fuck these people. I'm dumping this shit. It's like, it's the stupidest thing in the world to think, oh, it's the only one. You can only have one website, one coin, and you can only have one business that does everything. And by the way, we're going to limit what it does.
Exactly. Not even that.
Never mind Hayek's competing currencies idea.
That's fine by me if you want to be a maximalist about something. But if you're going to be a maximalist about it, don't shit on people for using it the way that you don't like them using it. They're still using the thing.
Sorry, it was open source for a reason.
Doing right now. You're running people away
I'll
from
tell you,
literally building Bitcoin.
It was like being when I was in a band. It was really funny. You'd always have a drunk guy come in. I was like, "You guys are awesome. You're just like some band we aren't like at all, right?" And it was like you always had just like, it's a compliment whether or not I would treat it that way, right? And it was so funny because some guys are like, "No, we're not like them." It's like, the guy he thinks we're awesome.
He likes that band. That's
right. That's the right answer.
It doesn't matter if I like the band. It's like, okay, thanks. And it's just a funny thing because
can I sell you a T-shirt?
If you want to use Bitcoin for its original written purpose, it's like, no, it's a store of value. It's not. We don't need that. We don't need cash.
And if Satoshi wanted nobody to do anything else with it ever, he wouldn't have made it open source.
Yeah. Well, and at the very least, you can trust what he wrote that it was supposed to be used for, which was cash. And I'll tell you, any other push was not for philosophical reasons. Can I say something about everything crashing? I think there should be a measure of, and I don't know what the semantics would be, if it's illness, if it's cancer, if it's something like this. It's a negative thing. I think the more that Bitcoin and crypto in general, and crypto follows Bitcoin because it's the trading pairs, the more it follows the traditional world, the more sick we should assume that it currently is. That there are issues. If you have massive inflation, we're looking at
tied to it.
Yeah, we're looking at Weimar Germany levels of BS. That is, and it's central. Like the Weimar Republic wasn't even the center of the world at the time, and it caused a massive world war. And you think about, what if the U.S. goes down because of this inflation, because of the Fed, and if Bitcoin is not radically more valuable right now, there's something wrong with.
So I have heard from people that have been in for a long time, like some of you guys, that there are some OGs that are pissed off about the whole number go up thing and the NFT things and how the DeFi that wasn't DeFi went, and how crypto has been like turned into banking. And like, Sean and I were just at Consensus and all this, and it looked like a financial conference. Like it looks like Normie World. It doesn't look like cypherpunks and
Did
people
they block you from coming in if you didn't have a suit and tie kind of thing?
Oh, there was only one Bitcoin Jesus there. Like it was not a cool thing, it was like nobody, I don't know. They were just all trying to be bankers.
Right,
And
which is a weird artifact of individual
link
trust.
Joe's theory and Greg, what you just said, that is what I had heard has happened. And they are trying to shake out all the fake, all these people that got in that are basically like Robin Hood people. They're like, oh, I want to be a crypto person, but they only want it for the Win Lambo boys and the Moon boys and all that. And so they are shaking them out and like, nope, you don't get to be part of the show. You're either in it for the tech or you're not. And they're going to rocket it down as hard as they can until only people that are really in it for the tech are in it, or for the future and the truth.
I think
Interesting theory.
It's going to be, then it'll come
we're
back.
Talking about whales, I think that whales have lost they're not whales anymore. The pond has grown, and they're no longer big fish in a little pond.
Or the market cap
Their
goes to
value
what
in
they can
something
have,
else.
though.
They still have their wealth though.
There's
It's
certain
just-
people, like if you look at
they can come back in
Grayscale and
whenever
other
they
their
want.
institutions have staggering amounts of all the Bitcoin in the world. Sailor, he has 40%, or something. It's insane.
The
how
U.S.
much they
has
own.
more than that. Just nobody
But
knows.
Well, they've been
it's
fractionally
insane how
selling
much
it to
these
people
certain
is the problem.
institutions have. Where I think personally, number one, it can't go down. I don't think it's going to go down anymore because of the institutional money, because mom and pop are putting 1% of their and 2% of their 401ks in it. But what I saw over the past few days is Bitcoin losing its control. All red. Wait a minute, Litecoin's green. All red. Wait a minute, Litecoin and Ethereum are green. So when you're talking about Bitcoin maximalism, it gets to the point where you can go down the market. You've beaten the market down. Eventually, there is that decoupling where everyone holding Litecoin, you can't control it, the whole thing, for too long. Eventually, you want to keep crashing Bitcoin.
Well,
People are going to pull money out, start putting in Ethereum and Litecoin because those are going up.
Right,
Here's
you're going to
something
run
to
out
consider.
Come back in
of dry
whenever
powder
they
of it,
want.
basically.
Something to consider too, because exactly what Sean says, that what were whales are no, they're no match for machines that print their own money, right? So it's the same thing that the traditional world has had with naked shorts, where banks and others that essentially have unlimited funds can kill an entire company in the public markets by doing naked shorts.
Right.
And that when you're talking in crypto, it'd be so easy to manipulate this market, especially if you have billions to spare. You just sit back and say, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And guess what? You get to choose the timing of all the events,
Wait for it.
And so,
No, I think you're absolutely right, Joe. And I think the question mark that's in my mind right now is, did what just happen? Did what we just experienced, was that the foul players in it trying to kill it by selling it? And did they just run out? Is this the end of their steam, or do they have another salvo waiting?
Yeah, well, there's the thing. I think it's definitely not, in my opinion, this is crazy stuff, right? But it's not a one-dimensional plan. If you don't think, and I've heard in some places in anonymous networks that, like say Sailor is accused of being a CIA asset, right? Why? He happens to be somewhere within walking distance of one of the CIA offices.
Yeah, and fucking Snowden's
like
also a CIA plan. It's the kind of bullshit that people who want people to trust them less will say.
Yeah, but there's the thing. If you don't think, and I'm not saying he is, I'm not saying any of that, but if you don't think that there are players out there that definitely are nation state actors working inside of the crypto world, you're crazy. There definitely is. There's no way around it, because a country would be freaking idiotic not to be doing something in this market right now. It's the future of everything. There's
they confiscated enough of it,
regardless of what you're being told or hearing from nation states. the fact is, this is such an important thing that's probably been realized too late, and everyone's freaking out about being front run, that they're downplaying it and being like, okay, we got to hamper this long enough to give us our chance back because we missed it.
Right, they're trying to force the crypto winter.
It feels like, anyway, that's what's going on globally.
Yeah, and then you also have the rush to central bank digital currency. The fact that has another factor in it, because those central banks definitely have
healthcare.gov money.
Yeah, they're going to do stuff. So,
I can't wait to see the first version.
A lot of crazy theories about it, but it's usually useful to look at the theories, not to assume truth or anything else, but to just consider it as like a thought exercise, right? A thought experiment where you can kind of like, okay, if that were true, what else would I see? Because that's where you can kind of pull in. It's like, well, maybe it's not purely true, but there's definitely something going on, similar or related. I don't know. It's just an imaginative thing, but it's super interesting anyway.
So as a good segue maybe into the next thing, like the value proposition ultimately of crypto that makes I think all of us probably agree that whatever's happening to it right now is temporary. What is it about the value proposition that makes it so? Basically, what we're seeing right now is the world accelerating the reasons for its adoption. What about cryptocurrency ultimately makes people want to have it? And I think it's a hedge against abuse of totalitarian power. Which
freedom outside the system.
Yeah, I think it's a lot.
So current events.
The awakening of it, I think, is a lot like the internet was. Like I spent extra money to buy something on the internet. I bought a CD from BestBuy.com that I could have went to Best Buy and bought, and I paid shipping for it. It was more expensive, but the fact that I could do that was that was awesome. Space age. It was space age. I went to eBay to buy something on eBay just so I could buy something on eBay. Yep. You know what I mean? It was just the action was so cool. Yeah. And I think that's what people get into cryptocurrency. Yeah. But then when you have things that happen like in Canada and with the truckers and all that, then people see like, oh my God, this is amazing. We can use this technology. And now we're here where, 90% of your shopping.
And guess what?
You know where there are a lot of cryptocurrency fans probably today? In the Dutch farmlands.
Hopefully.
Sure.
Yeah, that's something we should talk about.
Okay, so we'll get. I have a short list of things that I want to make sure we cover. So the first brought up by Greg is the Netherlands, Holland, the Dutch. I don't know. I don't know how you determine what you call.
This one would be the Dutch.
The Dutch. So we can pull that up.
It's so recent that I'm still trying to figure out what's real and what's.
Exactly. And this summary at first, when I saw this, I'm like, wait, that's not true. And then I'm there's the thread that you linked under this that is
there's like video of gunshots.
Scary stuff. Yeah. Well, I saw that and I thought, okay, it's a protest.
What are y'all talking about? Because me and Lisa, I brought this up to Lisa days ago, and I was like, do you know what's going on in the Netherlands? And a big part of the Netherlands is the Netherlands, Canada, Australia, and the Kiwis. They're all at the forefront of the New World Order, kind of like they're the test market, I guess you could call them.
And Dutch farmers produce the second most amount of food in the whole world.
I've read that.
So when and all we've been beat up with is famine coming. It's coming. We're going to have food riots. You're not going to be able to feed people. There's not going to be food.
And then point guns at tractors.
But here's the thing. I did not know that if you can click on the image on the right, ignore the tank and all that, but that sustainable goals. So it's an environmental focus that they wanted to reduce agricultural impact on climate change by this nitrogen thing, which happens to relate to the use of fertilizer, right? Nitrogen. Right. So
I've also seen that I don't know if this is what the specifics on that, but I've also heard it's about cows, how many cows you can have. So there's different things being said, and I'm trying to figure out
but this is I don't know what kind of farms these were, right? But the part that blew my mind was that they went in and took land. It sounded like South Africa. They were going in and taking land from these farmers. And the farmers are like, screw that. So they started protesting. So then the cops start shooting at them.
Full,
Netherlands.
not rubber bullets, not fucking tear gas.
Right.
Yeah. And I had a Dutch friend say, haha, luckily the Dutch cops are horrible shots, that nobody got hit, that they only practice like once a year or something.
Bullshit.
So got hit luckily.
Or like, oh, it was only 2 rounds. It's like, fuck you, it was only 2 rounds. They opened fire on their civilians.
Before wanting to farm.
Well,
Like,
just think, like, big corporations
just-
have been taking the farmland from people for years. We just haven't been paying attention to it. It's been done quietly. My mom wrote a book called Plucked and Burned that talked about, Tyson and the big corporations, how they would get, legacy generational farmers to take their family farms and get mortgages on them to do these chicken farms. Well, then they were beholden to the farm company to buy their chickens from them and have to feed them and sell them back to them, all that. And then they would become indebted and they would lose their family farms to these big, well, now we have this home shortage because Google and big companies are buying up homes. Zillow had a auto purchasing, BlackRock, right? Buying homes, all of this. So why is this happening? And to the point where, this is just happening in a smaller country where it's in their face, where they're like, oh, they're buying our land, they're buying our farmland, we're going to fight back. And their police are shooting at the people. But it's just happening in a numbing way to us. We just aren't aware.
That's the part that I didn't understand.
You will own nothing is the part they're working on, and then once they have the guns from everybody, they're going to point them at us, and you're happy.
Countries. Yes. There's China just bought like 300,000 acres like this week.
Yeah.
Gates just bought another 250,000 acres or something.
Yeah. Well, see, and that's the thing too, because at first if you remember the Yellow Jacket stuff when we were in Europe for that blockchain conference, they all had the we saw some and we had it was interesting. I wanted to go out, right? But it was never clear, because people were saying it's because of the taxes. Some people, it's because of high fuel prices. It was never very clear because our press doesn't report anything worth. And there's no reporting over here at all. And the issue was this in the middle here. Dutch government publicly threatens land appropriation by force if the farmers don't comply.
That was interesting.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Is that really possible? And it's like, well, guess what? They're gonna use the tractors, and they're going to deploy whatever they have for.
Why do you think they're trying to take our second
amendment? The Club of Rome Malthusians want their garden society, and they think that they're somehow going to be able to survive without all of this support infrastructure they see as the means of regular people. These are just regular people. Like, isn't the point of all of it for us to all flourish? And if you're going to do this, and you're going to plan it at some kind of secret convention that you can only get into if you have a press pass from CNN or fucking billions of dollars.
Because if they have declared that they're going to threaten military violence, that's going to be next level. And the funniest thing is, on this post, this is an anonymous person posted this. You're here.
Farmers.
Dutch media reports nothing but angsty inconveniences. World media reports nothing. Right?
Nothing. That's when I asked Lisa, what's going on in the Netherlands? She was like, no. I said, exactly. Nobody does. And then I was telling her about it, and that's when we started looking at it. But since this was our Monday was our Independence Day, I posted this meme, and I think I read it on me and Lisa's show, but I wanted to just really put this out there, especially against this. I wish you could put them screen by screen or side by side. What do Americans really celebrate on the 4th of July? And this may have been an unintended. It may have been posted to like kind of make fun of Americans or put them down, but tax evasion, disobeying orders, and then it's got colonists versus the redcoats, riots, vandalism,
fireworks bans,
vandalism. It's got the Tea Party, illegal gun ownership. I'm sorry, and acts of treason.
Constitutional gun ownership. Correct yourself.
Right.
No, he was saying no. Back then, it was
the
illegal.
Fourth of July celebrates.
Oh.
Back then,
It's illegal gun ownership.
Yeah.
And acts of treason, and it has the Declaration of Independence.
Those guys were radical.
You know what?
And,
And I'll say thank you for that accurate
memes
summary. We do
this year
celebrate that.
It's Washington, and he said it's only treason if you lose. Which is
But the other my favorite one, Washington, is me and my buddies would be stacking bodies by now. So one way or
Imagine
another,
going to like
That's directly
Oklahoma or Kansas and saying we're taking your farmland.
That's directly relevant
Right?
to
Like
the
not happening.
conversation about history, though, and about the conversation about on-chain history specifically. But provability of what the fuck went down,
well,
I should have asked Bundy to be here.
or verify. I guess verify the ability to.
Because we're going over this.
Yeah.
I should have tried to get him on here with us, because this is the perfect thing. I mean, the government went up there for whatever to take the land back, which was BLM land, I believe, and they stood up against them, and people from all over America went there with their AR-15s, with their shotgun, with whatever.
That's beautiful.
And they stood up, gun to gun, and the government backed down.
Did you see the guy running for, I believe it's governor, or maybe it's senator? There's a black guy running, and his promo or stance is that he's fighting the KKK with an AR-15. That's his
I think it's like who's
commercial.
It's kind of funny.
That's awesome. Well, if you look at the original, I think the NRA has very much gone astray, but the reason that they were created was related to those issues. So
I saw a YouTuber say this, and I laughed so hard.
This
And
is
I'm
it.
not a Republican. I hate them all. But this guy said, "Man, Democrats haven't been that mad since we took away their slaves."
that's a common
Zing.
name.
I fell over, dude. I was like,
No,
oh
it's
my
actually.
God.
I don't
humorously
think it's a good point, but I think it's a good point to get people to realize that maybe things aren't always the way they think they are.
Right. And by the way,
Um,
speaking of which, I want to know how many of you guys think that when you drive around town, and I don't know if it's like this in the Midwest, but up here, it disgusts me, not because I support one side or the other, but to see buildings, even public buildings, but mostly private buildings, that are flying a Ukrainian flag. I'm like, wait a minute. What
super
the
weird.
hell is
It's
this?
super weird.
Like, that's not an organic thing. It makes no damn sense to me at all. It's like
that wouldn't be that way though 10 years ago,
right,
15 years ago.
right.
But now, when like people
How about
complain about
a month long of
flying an
rainbow
American
flags,
flag.
and then
You can fly an American
not
flag
even
and
a
someone
day
will
of
complain
American
about it, but that's
flags.
okay. That's
Right.
weird now.
Right.
It's strange. So I was like, do you think? Anyway, the question is, do you think that we will see if it was organic for people to all of a sudden, oh, I'm going to fly the flag because I support the current thing? Are they going to be flying Dutch flags, right?
They're not flying Dutch flags, man.
Or the flip side, whatever.
If they are, they're
arms
doing it in
flags are.
support of the government,
Right.
and they're going to arm them against the rebels.
Yeah,
But the thing that I think we need to
we
highlight
need a
here
Dutch rebel flag.
is that everything that isn't framed in the context of authoritarianism versus freedom versus liberty is a distraction meant for you to not think about authoritarianism versus liberty.
Yes, that is the truth. Yes.
You know, like
Okay.
they're trying to distract us with everything they can throw at us. But right now, they want to in the quiet.
I was gonna say like the
shoot
Ukraine thing.
fucking Dutch farmers for growing all the world's food.
The
Next we
Ukraine
have
thing with Dutch farmers and other countries too. One of the differences that I can think of is that, like, with Russia and Ukraine, at least how I understand it, you have an outside nation attacking Ukraine, right? In the other examples, it's like the government itself is attacking its own citizens, and that's the one people don't get up in arms about, right?
Well,
And
there's another key thing here, guys, that I think we need to touch on to make the whole picture here complete. Because on July 3rd, Julian Assange had a birthday celebration, and it will be his something like when did he go into the embassy? It's been over a decade that he's been celebrating birthdays in captivity, and the second he gets extradited here, the second that happens, then what's to stop people who funded the trucker rebellion in Canada from getting extradited there from here for funding it, or anybody who helps the Dutch farmers? What's to stop any kind of crime from causing you to be extradited to another country in the world order for prosecution for whatever? And I think that's really what's at stake here, is if we want a one world government, you get it by extraditing Julian Assange.
You know what I would dream would happen, and what I dreamt would happen, it didn't. But I wish people would storm that prison and just take him out. But if he came here to just
you can constitutionally with your sheriff,
have a trucker movement with sheriffs and everything, go to where
is he now?
Go to where he is and take him out.
She has one more appeal,
and then make a statement that he is under our protection.
Over there, what are they going to do? They're gonna raid them with spoons and knives.
That would be the catalyst that starts. Could you imagine if Julian Assange was a catalyst that started the sequel to the 1980s movie?
Well, come on, let's go, Sean. Who's going to do it? If not you, then who?
I want to bring up a tweet. Just in case people think that Greg is exaggerating, just to show that no, it's very really a danger. And this is just something that I captured on Eternal a while back, just to have some proof behind it in case it was deleted by the Ottawa police. And they've put out that they're tracking everybody. They're going to track you down. Criminal charges. We're going to take your money. We're going to turn off your bank accounts. They have turned off bank accounts, right? So all the people they did not do anything to, they still have their names. They still have all the information about them. It's not like that's over. So if something happens with Julian that makes it status quo, to then go after journalists and protesters and things like that, to where people are going to be like, well, that's just how it is now. As soon as they feel like
non-citizen, never been to Canada, doesn't fucking
tolerate it. They've been doing stuff like that to people in the U.S. for years, but it's been to conservatives, cutting off their bank accounts.
It was religious organizations first.
And
yeah.
Well, then
I think if you look at that, look at what they've done there. It's the exact kind of the evil universe of like a prepper. You putting aside 3 months worth of food just for whatever, and having some precious metals like lead, things like that, just for emergencies, in case the shit hits the fan. That's the polar opposite. That's what the government does. Let's make these lists for when the shit hits the fan, so we can go right, and get as many of these people as we can. Those people are on that list. Like Dave said, even if they didn't freeze their accounts, they still have all of that in place.
Only thing stopping them is that there's no precedent to extradite non-citizens to a place to stand trial for treason where they had no allegiances.
And imagine if there was something like a UN agreement, and you could be found treasonous to your planet because you stood up for your country.
Because you tampered with your water restrictor in your shower.
Yes.
Or something like I'm against
it. By the way,
against this. I want independence for different countries, let alone your state.
Okay.
Forget about being American to do your state.
We need to get to the next one.
Yeah.
The next one is the Guidestones. So apparently a lot of people didn't know about these, but they were probably obviously set up by, and there's a thread I just put in private chat. If we can bring up that.
People didn't know about that? I'm an expert
if you can bring up that thread.
I knew everything about these Guidestones forever.
Same here.
I knew nothing.
I'd never heard of them.
Lisa had to tell me what these were. I've had to look them up and read about them.
Effectively, it's obviously a Ted Turner related. That it's they want to limit human population on the Earth to 500 million because that is somehow the organic, natural number.
Fucking Christ.
It's a round number too. How anti-science? I think all the mathematicians like, why a round number? That's a very human thing. Right? Who cares?
It's a monument calling for a much bigger than the Holocaust. What of it? This is just I think
it's like Dave or Greg was talking about. The people or entities that made that are the ones that think that humans are a virus on the planet.
Yeah. When you want to start making that happen, you call it the Dutch farmers.
Yeah, I've heard different things on this. I've heard they were erected in 1980.
Here, I'm going to bring it up.
Supposedly, this was they were put there when it was the height of the Cold War. We're about to all die from nuclear, destruction. So these were to guide humanity afterwards when we come out of the rubble on how to build it so that the world can come back and be sustained. And then there's other schools of thought.
Except for the blood stains on the top of it. From
there's a lot of, so there's that, and then there's a lot of other weird stuff.
Yeah.
I want to talk about. I mean, I know Lisa can go on this, but I want to hit on. I think the bigger picture. Because I watched Tim Cass IRL, and he was so against this, and so this is such a terrible thing that this has happened. It really caught my eye, because most people that are libertarians or freedom, or they're like so stoked, and I was like, why are you guys so? Why is this such a big deal? Because I was a little kid back then, so I didn't really know, and I wasn't even in the United States then. So I had to look into this, but I think it's part of a big part of the sequel to the movie Breakin' that people aren't talking about. It's a big thing.
A breakdancing movie?
You
lost me.
So it scares me about this too.
Anyway, but there is a so the guidestones are actually a calendar. There's the sun would shine on the guidestones, what day of the year, whatever. And the one pillar, I think in the articles that I shared, I think one granite stone is like over 42,000 pounds. And the top is like a square piece that holds the guidestones. The corner of it, of one of the top was exploded, demolished. And then one stone was completely demolished. They tried to say it was from an earthquake at first. Nobody was buying that story. So then later in the day, they came out with this video of someone shooting at it, which is just as ridiculous, because none of the other stones were damaged at all. So it's a bunch of crap too. Most likely it was like a directed energy weapon, is what I think. But there's also if you look at from, I think the second link that I shared, there's a plaque on the ground. There is a time capsule, and it says something about to be opened at the time of, and then there's no date. And it's about it being a cataclysmic event or a consequential time in the Earth's history and humanity that this is supposed to be opened. And I know there's some other stories going on right now about Pandora's box and things like that in the news. So,
what really makes me sad about all this is that the Atlanta situation is not good. This is in Atlanta, correct?
It's in Georgia.
It's in Georgia.
Yeah, it's in Georgia.
Is it within under whose there's so much crime going on all over the country that it floors me that law enforcement is even focusing on this.
I think it's significant also that they had this. So
It's
the other thing, guys, is that this was taken down. So I'm doing my show at like 4:00 Central, and I'm reading through, and they've already updated the article that they have removed, destroyed, demolished the other 3 stones in the top, and it's down. It's gone.
They got rid of the rest. Like that was the thing to do was go get rid of all the evidence. Are you serious right now?
Yeah.
What?
Just like the most significant event in our nation's history that was demolished immediately and taken away so that there would be no evidence.
You know what I think is interesting, and I have a healthy dose of tinfoil hatism whenever I see things like I just saw. I was trying to share the same thing that is on screen right now. And so I pulled it up because it was one of you put it in chat, right? Now I know 95% sure that I have not blocked. I don't block people at all. In fact, I subscribe to people I disagree with, right? So I want to bring up what I see on Twitter, just because, right? And like I said, I've never seen this account. I don't remember this account or anything that I linked to.
Drew Tang at home.
And for whatever reason, Twitter says that I have muted
Surprise!
This tweet is from an account muted, and I'm like, so I'm looking at it, and I'm like, are you serious?
Twitter story too, man.
So I look at it, And I'm like, oh, it's the same person that I'm looking at here that I just clicked on. And I'm like, no, I didn't. So it's like you really do see through a particular lens.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, this thread.
I got one too, guys.
We
The
should
crazy
probably
one from yesterday.
We should probably put this thread in the chat or somewhere. But essentially, it calls out the connections that I never understood. I knew Ted Turner had to be related somehow to it because it was some of the same things he was promoting back in the day. And yet I didn't know the history of it. And it was really interesting. And whoever this Robert Christian, that's not really Robert Christian, whoever this is, in conjunction in concert with Turner, built this thing, and it's a genocidal thing. And it's the funniest thing when you talk about it's a calendar. It's the funniest thing to me is that when we pull up these calendars, who would know that maybe Stonehenge was really a calendar to tell that prehistoric culture when we are going to genocide everybody. Because that's what this was.
Countdown.
So funny ass story from Twitter.
Not about harvests.
Actually,
it's about
A little hard. A weird sense of humor, Joe, but yeah.
I got one for you. So I was on Twitter and I was like, I really appreciate their community standards. So when I saw somebody engaging in targeted harassment, trying to get people to deplatform and unsubscribe from Bette Midler and Macy Gray for their opinions because they're women and they should have their voices, right? I reported the guy for targeted harassment because he was asking people to go unsubscribe from them, and since words are violence, that's basically a violent act. So, so I reported it, and unlike usual, when you report some spam bot, they say thanks for the report. We'll look into it and let you know. In order for us to proceed with this investigation on this blue check that you reported, you need to upload a photo of your passport or government ID.
Yes.
Before we can proceed.
That's the new
I have
thing.
the screenshots, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Macy Gray?
Crazy?
I got the
You guys
same
know
thing.
back
All I
in
was trying to do is
20
protect the rights of women.
It's very
Around
weird. My
2016,
son's name
guys.
is Robert Christian Anderson.
Really?
That's
Around
pretty
2016.
I didn't know that it was made by him.
Well, that's not his real name, but back in 2016 or thereabouts, might have been 17, might have been 18. There was a large amount of child porn that was being pushed on Twitter under accounts that were, hard to find, right? And when these were reported, those accounts were not touched. They were left open, and the reporters were all banned. And it's like that happened within the recent past, and nobody knows about it. But
I've seen at least one instance of that on Facebook specifically. It was terrible, but it was like something that I found on the internet. It was linked to a Facebook post, and I was like, Facebook? And sure enough, it was just on Facebook, and it was there for like days.
But I want to tell you something.
Right here on YouTube, you can find porn. And like my son was like, there's no nudity on YouTube. I'm like, dude, go look at Steel Panther, their video. There's like
recent uploads, man. You can see all the stuff the moderators.
Well, beyond that, as an example, one of the gosh, I can't even remember which shooter, which false flag was it? I don't know, but one of them posted their manifesto and their plan to action on Instagram. Mm-hmm. It was taken from Instagram and posted on Infinity Chan. Okay. And guess what? Infinity Chan was taken down like that. And there was no question, no way to get to it.
I mean,
Instagram.
What's it called? Instagram. Yes.
Yeah, Instagram's still there. It's a very odd thing.
It's wild. Yeah. And those are the things where
Facebook allows like ads for, what is it? Nambla and,
really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And
I posted something in the private chat. A link to
the South Park episode.
A link to the movie that I've been talking about. And you put it up there, and so everybody knows we're talking, because I'm talking in code, which I never do, but I'm doing that when it comes to this.
It was hanging out with me.
The big thing about this is, a couple of years ago there was this huge push, and the progressives were dismantling history. They were taking down all these monuments from the revolution, from one side, and this is being viewed as the other side fighting back, which like what we're talking about with the Dutch farmers. We seem to be at this boiling point where we're looking at watching the sequel to the breakdance movie Breakin', from the 80s.
You're not talking about like Footloose or something?
I'm talking about Breakin' 2, the Electric Boogaloo.
I still don't. Oh, the
Okay.
Boogaloo Boys and all
Thank
that
you.
stuff.
Yes, that's
Oh,
what I
I
was.
was like, what is he talking about? I don't get it.
yeah.
I tried to get you, but speaking
That
of,
was
I tried
all
to
fake
get
too, by the way. That
I
was
tried-
totally fake. So
I tried to
No,
get
it's a real movie. I was in the theater, man. I went and saw it like 5 times.
Okay.
right.
I never
I
saw
was
it.
like, that was a cool movie. Anyway,
I don't believe it exists.
What, the
Which,
movie?
by the way, because we're running short on time and I'm on the hook here. I'm not going to make it. But either way, the next piece was, okay, so I'm going to ask each one of you. I want to know individually. Do you remember? And it was after my day. Like I did not grow up with these books, but current events related. This is definitely current events related. That I did read these to my little kids when they were young, and they were Berenstein Bears. And I know that I always had to think about, what am I talking about? Is it Berenstein or Berenstein? And I was like, Berenstein. That's the easiest thing. It's obvious. EI. Okay. Berenstein. I come back, the kids are older now. We have a new kid, and it's like, what the hell is Stain? This is a Chinese knockoff. What is this crap? And so I want to know, first of all, what is your thoughts there? And the current event related is the tinfoil hat. The CERN has turned back on again. If you are not ready for what is coming, it's going to be nuts. If the crazy theories are true. That they're going to be running for, I think, 4 years straight. I don't know, something
Till
like that.
2025.
Okay, so
I never knew
they're
that
4 years,
CERN, their logo was 3 6s.
Which one was?
I never knew their logo was 666.
Whose logo? Oh,
CERN.
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 Oh, can we pull?
But supposedly it was
Yeah.
turned off and taken over by the good guys and then turned back on. And that's when the God particle was found this last time. And now it's been turned on again.
Yeah,
and they
666.
What are we trying to opine on, though? Because this is something I'm limited.
The theory is that CERN turning back on has created what's the name for
Mandela
it?
Talking about the
effect.
Mandela effect.
Which is
Did
Mandela died
you
in
guys
prison.
remember when Nelson Mandela died in 1980 in prison? Because that never happened.
Right. Well, that's what
He
this
actually
is.
died in
Mandela effect
2013.
named after. Yeah.
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 I had Coca-Cola in the chat. I had that turbo, that tooth ring. I had that. I had fingerless gloves.
So I did have the U.S. National Archives YouTube channel posted yesterday. Welcome to National History Day 2023. So maybe we are in a little bit of a time warp. I don't know.
Wow.
There are some weird things happening.
I think that
Crypto Nana, there was a weird. You're talking about the accident that happened at
Okay.
CERN when they turned it off. There's a lot of crazy shit that you can find out from
In
scientists.
World Blockchain
that
Roundtable,
say
I think
that they
that's
opened up
a
a
moment in
portal.
history itself.
That basically it's like Stranger Things. It was like a demigorgon came and grabbed the scientist. They weren't vaporized; they were taken by the demigorgon. A scary beastie thing. But that's something I wanted to go back to on this on the guide stones. That it was a violent attack on a symbol of that side, and it's kind of like now it's done. We are done.
Sean, I think
That's why I want to know which one they blew up. And apparently they blew up the English one, right? Because there's ancient Greek, there's cuneiform translation from all these guiding principles, and all of the languages of the world, and so that was my question, right?
Sean, you think it's like this?
It's only in 4 languages.
Like when his portals opened and
Was it?
beasts coming out and that kind of thing.
I saw an interview with a scientist that said that there was something coming through, like
English,
sci-fi movie, like
English, Spanish, Swahili, Hindi, Hebrew, Arabic, traditional Chinese, Russian. And the English one was blown up, and I think it's like whatever stone had different languages on each side and whatever else. It's like that's why there were so many stones.
The fewer Malthusian things set in stone
It
in
was
the
in
world,
the
the happier I
article
am.
that I sent. It had 4 different languages.
See, I am say that they tore them down due to safety hazard of the other stones falling. first off, come on.
Right.
You could look at them and see that it looked pretty solid. But even if that's true,
A destroyed
it's
monument.
not a
is
tourist
symbol,
attraction anymore.
and they wanted
It's a
it
crime
gone.
site. No one's going to be hanging around and taking pictures, to post on Instagram.
Why'd they clear the wreckage from
around
the
it,
Twin
everything
Towers?
else, that's fine,
Yeah. Why'd they sell it off to make sure that it couldn't be inspected? Right. So there's very sharp cuts.
That'd be interesting historical thing. Yeah, I don't know about
a destroyed monument that's partially destroyed is a monument to its destruction. The ideas it represented are damaged by it being up. Of course, they took it down.
I tend to. So before this conference, I haven't looked at it. I saw yesterday that there was like somebody had laid down on a timeline like historical events, CERN events, something else, weather events, whatever. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I'll have to look it up. But I kind of am the guy that thinks that we don't have a big enough collider. We need to just make one around the circumference of the moon and use that instead. I think the collider is awesome. And I don't know, if we make little black holes, cool. I don't see the issue. But maybe I don't see the issue because I haven't looked into it more. That's where I am.
And honestly, I think I think it's an interesting bit of research that they do. We don't know necessarily what happens at certain higher levels of energy, but what we're talking about are very, very small collisions, right? In order to make that work, you need a big machine, but the actual energy required to produce it is very high. But the results of the impacts that they create are very, very, very tiny. They need very sensitive equipment to measure it.
And a lot of those impacts.
Right. We're talking you need to build an Earth-sized sensor in order to pick up gravitational waves. But that doesn't mean that by building the sensor, we're going to cause a gravitational tsunami.
But the danger is creating a black hole. Even if it's a mini black hole, it's a black hole. Yeah. And eventually,
except for
around though.
That's not actually true though, because of
and they dissipate quickly.
Well, because of the decay that happens at the boundary. We're talking about
black holes are no
the Hawking radiation decay.
Oh, yeah. Right. I want answers. What do you guys know?
This was actually why I was asking you what we were supposed to opine about, because I wasn't sure.
Berenstain it's named after the author.
For me, it was always Berenstein or Berenstein bears, like Joe said.
No, it's Berenstein. That's right.
Well, EI is Stein. Yes. Yeah. I had to learn that. My wife's German, and
whatever you've been saying all your life is wrong.
And
that's what I learned.
And I only found out about Berenstain bears through shout out to Angry Video Game Nerd. James had an episode on the Mandela effect and Berenstain versus Berenstein bears, and it was a great episode. So go watch AVGN and James, whatever his last name.
My opinion here on this one, guys, if you're curious, is that this is the nature of eyewitness testimony. This is why human beings make unreliable reporters on reality. And that trying to expect that we can remember things long term with any degree of accuracy, or even anticipating that that's going to be the best type of historical evidence as eyewitness evidence, is completely false. We base a lot of our legal system on that. We base a lot of our systems on the notion that our observations can be accurately recollected.
It's still not fun, though, Greg.
We have no way.
You're not making this a fun conversation.
No, it's a fun conversation because
it is because then it shows that we need blockchain, right?
Or the other,
we need blockchain
history.
Trust that. Yes.
Yeah, blockchain fixes the Mandela effect unless the inverse of that coin is true, which is potentially plausible, which is that you do in fact slip into a different dimension on accident from time to time.
Either we need that, or we need to go on our outside and make a dev request. Because
I can't remember what the theory is about this. Greg will probably be able to tell us this. That there is a theory that by looking outward with telescopes, we are affecting the history of the universe because we're effectively locking it in. The whole thing of if you look at the test,
you're talking about the observation,
you get different results. Yeah, you get different results than if you aren't watching it, which is the weirdest thing in the world.
The interesting
I don't want to go
into
the full. I think it's affected. I think it's the same thing as affected by blockchain. I think that once we record it, it's going to be the same effect as watching that experiment where the photons act like waves versus particles, right?
I like what I like about that. I'm going to talk over top of Greg for a second. Is sorry, I'm just feeling quirky. Is that like the I lost it. never mind. Maybe Greg should go. The split experiment where you observe it. And
okay, waves versus particles.
I'll come back to it. I forgot. It's gone. Dang it.
I know exactly what you're talking about, Dave. I've literally.
Greg, if you start talking,
if you hear Elon Musk talk about being in a simulation, for example, right, and other people too, he didn't invent that idea, and knowing how video games typically work, like, okay, what if that's because of the processing where you have to view everything through a certain window and you don't actually process it until someone observes it, and then what if that's a side effect of actually managing
the rendering system for reality, right?
That kind of thing. So that's all I wanted to say. I don't know why it was so important for me to talk.
Oh no, it's a fair point. And as far as the observation effect is concerned, one of the neat things about our complete lack of understanding of the quantum scale is that we don't know how to place time and gravity in it quite yet, but the standard model would suggest that there's this paradox where if you observe it, you change it. And while that may be true to some extent, it's not information transmissible in a way that you can really calculate. It's like it may have been different. It may not have. Where we have not looked is a Schrodinger's cat box, but that doesn't mean that reality is somehow capable of being inconsistent based on how we look. Because we can't affect it by looking. We can just determine it by looking. And just because we can determine it doesn't mean that indeterminable means it was both states at once, really.
That's a little poetic.
But
it says, hey, everybody should keep their eyes open so that we can keep reality in check and observe everything.
Yeah.
So
but
I think that is a neat thought problem, but I also don't think that by looking at the universe, we're going to somehow cause some kind of specific impact on the way things play out.
There is a theory, and there are scientists who think that there is some effect to even the expansion of the universe question, because
but I'm also a quantum gravity guy, so I kind of reject half of that.
Yeah. So it's an interesting thing, and I would like to know, does recording it on blockchain have the same effect? That's what I want to know, because that could be our answer to whether Orwellian issues can be solved with blockchain, right? Or can I just turn on a large enough collider and rewrite the chain very easily?
Yeah, there's actually another one that's worth looking at on that real quick, and you should check out. It's the Qtum project. The blockchain that powers the random number generator, the quantum random number generator that the Randonauts were using to do the Randonauts game. And yes, there is an observed effect on people who put anticipation into an outcome in a quantum random number generator. You can influence how it comes out by concentrating on it. But that effect may go away at scale. We don't really know.
It's crazy stuff. Sean, you are muted, but we need a cut because I'm way late anyway.
And I know that's what I wanted to say about it. And I know that's very profound. I can't even remember what I just said, but I know it'll change your all's lives that I said it.
There you go. That's awesome.
Well, knowing about something, just knowing the existence of it and about it has been measured that a group of people can change something, even though they don't see it. Seeing something has definitely been measured that you can change certain aspects of things and outcomes. But if there's a group of people who are meditating or concentrating on, I think it was a cup of water in Russia, and they were in a different part of the world. They were when they would try and meditate or will certain changes, it was working.
That goes to remote viewing and the placebo effect, all of that.
So I think just knowing about things,
making baskets,
and maybe someone said in the chat, maybe blowing it up as a way to get people to be talking about it. I didn't know about these guide stones, and now I know about them, and I know a lot of weird things about them.
Yeah.
So
nothing about them would you have probably not understood to be true, that they want to kill us all. But anyway, so
there's a lot of weird stuff about the guide stones.
Yes.
Especially now that the dude who supposedly made it is Robert Christian, which is my son's name. Also, the initials RC, like remote control and other things.
So updates, Dave. Anything happened this week?
Oh yeah, sorry, I was getting distracted by watching a literal video of the guidestones being pushed over by a bulldozer right now. I didn't realize. Like,
Is it a
holy-
NFT
killdozer?
time, man. That should be an NFT.
Why did we not have a killdozer do that years ago? Is the question.
Oh
Okay.
man. So yeah,
Protected.
so many things on DIN, man. We are, I think the latest. Well, you know what? We'll talk about all this on the DIN DAO meeting today at 3 p.m. Eastern and noon Pacific, which we have every Thursday. Features coming in. Anonymity is important whenever you want to do anything that maybe is right but could endanger you. So journalism, for example. So we have anonymity tools that are basically ready. And we have like a lot of, what do I even say about that? A lot of like new stuff popping up. So it's interesting. I mentioned before that I felt like the bear market was over basically yesterday because I've been seeing just, I'm always trying to like keep my ear to the ground and stay plugged into stuff. And I've always been like quick to, start up a conversation with just about anybody. And I've noticed that the traction didn't come as strongly as it did now until like what the shit fest that just happened kind of has settled out. And people are looking around to see like, oh, who's still here and who wasn't affected. Because like Joe said, a lot of us weren't involved with any of that. And so I don't know. Things are looking really interesting, and I'm excited for the second half of this year, and it starts now. And so come and make a free account on DIN Social. We don't have advertising. We don't take your personal data. We just need an email address and for customer service, and then you can be on a quote unquote Web3 social media platform without a
No passport uploads ever, right? You guys don't.
Yeah, no passport uploads. We have self-governance tools for every single community, and so like even the DIN DAO isn't as direct of governance as your local DAO. Every single community, just in case I haven't talked about this enough, every single community in DIN, every layer is a DAO, and you have your own native DAO tokens for voting that is different from every other community. So nobody else, like if you're flat Earth and somebody else is round Earth, they can't come and vote in your governance, right? You have your own, get your own tokens. So all that's free. You don't have to pay for any of it. You don't even have to pay to start up your own community. If you want to bring a handful of people in, right now we have open proposals for the July layer creation, which happens every month. So you can propose, hey, we want to fire up this community on DIN, and you can do it for free if you get enough people to come in and vote in it. Or if you don't have that, we have custom integration and custom governance too. So yep. There's my DIN update / pitch.
Right on. Lisa, what is this week?
This week is flying by for me. Sean and I had our show yesterday. So you guys go check that out on Sean and I's channel, either one of us. We've got, oh my gosh, today has been a very full day. I had a very interview for the Veritasium DAO this morning. We've got a
cool
very DAO team meeting later today. I'm going to be on the DIN DAO team meeting later today. Okay. Then awesome. We've got my show with Johnny Litecoin. So every day at 4 Central, 5 Eastern, I do a daily weekday show. And tomorrow is my Friday happy hour show. I've got Bix Weir from Road to Ruta on. They just did a documentary of their last road show, and we were in it, and we will be a part of that again this month. He's out on the road again, and he'll be wrapping up in Oklahoma City. I hope all of you guys will be joining us at that one. We'll be celebrating Team Mighty on August 5th and 6th. So that's awesome. Kind of our
excellent
big stuff.
Greg, what's going on?
All right. I would normally spend a fair chunk of this time talking about how Rivet's new pricing is published, but you should just go check out the Rivet Substack. It's our newsletter that we send out to folks. We're not going broadwave with this yet because we don't have the website updates needed to do intake on some of the things, but that's coming. So, but if you want to get in on this, July's pricing will soon be shifting to our new pricing model. So check that out. But I wanted to take a moment and just sort of recap what the big takeaway here is to me. all this stuff that's happening in the world, this is the use case for crypto and blockchains being shoved hard, right? They are forcing the value proposition into the public eye. The more they force, it's just like Star Wars. The more they fucking squeeze, the more star systems will slip through their fingers. So join us in this fight, and we will win in the end. That's why crypto is going to eventually go right back to where it belongs, which is at the very top.
Yes.
So.
Yes. It's about philosophy and love, not numbers. Sean.
Yes. Check out me and Lisa. Our show was on Tuesday, which Lisa, I went and commented or replied to a comment on your page that someone wrote, which I want to talk about. But you want me to hit you up on your WhatsApp. You appreciate my feedback, but if I want some more,
I don't message people on WhatsApp.
I've got to get you through your WhatsApp there and your phone numbers there.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, so some spam
Scammers,
thing.
but I thought it was funny.
Okay, that's not real. I hope people know that.
But the thing I replied to is that I think we're doing a special show on Lisa's Patreon for DeFi.
Yeah.
On how to utilize that to work for McDonald's when you're 16 for a year and then retire. So
join my Patreon.
So yeah, join Lisa's Patreon. I don't have Patreon.
Thanks.
I don't know. I don't like money, I guess. I don't know. But check out the Crypto Meme Review. That went up. It was this week. Hope everyone had a really great Independence Day. What else is going on? Crypto Meme Review. This I'm on. This on Thursday. At least on Tuesday. I've only slept for about an hour and a half. It was a rough day and a rough night. A friend of mine's in the hospital and he wasn't supposed to make it through the night. So I was up most of the night. My boys were at the hospital. It was family night, and everything kind of went down right when I was cooking. So I stayed and finished cooking, and they went. Anyway, I was watching different influencers, and one of them said that the content is you're the content, and people try to chase and make some kind of super sensational stuff when people want to see you. So I'm thinking about just having another show for every week. I was thinking about just having like a beer, and have a blockchain bros and a brewski or something. So I really like alliteration. So I was thinking about
do drunk immutable history.
Yeah, well, I used to do.
There you go.
I used to do drunk. What was it? Drunk on Crypto, where the goal was to get drunk really fast. I would make this concoction that I've been drinking since I was like 15 years old. It's Boone's Farm Blue Hawaiian or anything. But then
Blue Hawaiian. Oh my God, awesome! You're the first person I've ever said.
2 shots.
Likes
You fill the neck up with vodka and shake it up, and that's it's like $3.
Maui and Dew was the drink of my high school years.
But then I would literally down that first, take a couple shots, and then to start the interview, which was really cool because we had like we could have Joe on, and then we get him super drunk, and then he would just start spilling the beans on stuff.
I'll go.
I signed an NDA for
7-second delay.
I can't tell anybody, but
7-second delay is all I'd ask. And I'm joking.
We had the CEO of Uno. Anyway, he would go to the bathroom, and they started talking about how he never touches his penis when he goes to the bathroom because he would take the
That sounds reckless.
And then he's like, "I'm not supposed to say anything about this, but we just signed contracts with Visa and MasterCard for this to go into be used at 7-Eleven." Never went through, so it may have been because of the show. But it was a great concept.
That's what happens.
But it's hard to interview people because I said, crypto is hard to understand, so we want to make it simple. So we want to make ourselves simple, so we get drunk. But then I was like, oh my God, I'm trying to ask intelligent questions, but I'm no longer intelligent.
When are you launching this?
Tomorrow.
Perfect.
Okay.
We can't do it on Friday. I have my happy hour show on
Yeah,
Friday.
you're
We can't
right.
compete. We can't have 2 drunk shows on Friday.
I have a
No, community governance. You guys could make us drink if you wanted to.
Here we go.
That is a good point.
You know,
Say I'm down for
They could turn this. Whatever we, theoretically.
you guys are all morning people. Dave,
Yeah, that's true.
Come on the show, man. It's
But that's the
7
thing.
a.m.
The
your time.
Dow, the Dow could say we want something to happen late in the day, and we want this, and we want that. It's like it just need some creativity. Okay,
Destroy our lives
so-
with morning drink.
That's what
I'll
Sean.
give
Yours
a
is
quick.
gonna be the late night.
I'll give a quick update that Dragonchain doing a bunch of stuff. We have a couple of projects that are apparently either close to rolling out or partially rolling out public, and some early info and some interesting kind of things coming up. I'm going to be out next week for a move, and I think that Dave's taken over a couple of the slots, and definitely I definitely won't be on this show next week. I can't remember what the topic is. It is raising capital for an idea project or company. I'd love to be on that, because make sure you guys cover 2018 and ICOs and where they in the world. I won't be there.
We'll do. Hey Joe, are you coming to Kansas now?
Yes, like an undisclosed location. It's supposed to be secret, Greg.
When are we
can't
doing
edit
Thanks,
this now.
Greg.
this idea for the show? When is that? Is it what week is that? The city
Which one?
states, DAOs. What was it?
Oh yeah, I
Oh,
think it's
that's the last week of July, I think, isn't it?
That was the last week.
I'll be on that.
Somewhere towards
That one's
the
super interesting for a particular reason. But yes, Greg, I will be there in the Kansas City area somewhere in an undisclosed secret location. And
Maybe when you're back on, we'll be on the same screen.
Yes, we'll do. We will get together at some point for that. And then when one of these projects releases too, we'll probably invite everybody in for probably in the middle of the country there for something altogether. So long as it does launch as expected, we'll see. So but that would be cool, right?
I've got an
it might
airport
be-
next door.
yeah.
I live right next to it in my house. I can fly up. That's great.
Right on. Right.
Be there.
Okay. Cool. All right. So make sure you share this episode. The more you share, the more lot all of us and all of you will get. And then make some crazy suggestions next week. I'll vote on them.
I'm going to try to get Eamon Bungie to come to the one at the end of the month.
Okay.
That would be
That would be
cool.
great. Yeah.
That would be good. So
Hey, I
city
want to
state.
just ask you guys, Greg, what's your background?
My back. Oh, I actually generated this with Dolly too. This is the text that created this image in that AI program was a 40-story tall stained glass representation of a wizard backed by the Milky Way galaxy.
Okay, I
And
think
it created
Bigfoot.
it.
I think it's Bigfoot. I thought it was Bigfoot the whole time, but I just want to know if it was just me.
Yeah, the algorithm was like, so Bigfoot?
Celestial Bigfoot.
It's actually a crop. The real image is much larger.
Yeah, there's some funny stuff that the thing generates. There's some anyway. All right. I think that's everything. So make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and share this episode. That's everything, right, guys? Okay. Thanks a bunch. See you next week.
Love y'all.
The first tap of a conductor's wand. The first rivet in a mile-high tower. The master link at the genesis of the never-ending chain. The moment a single empty canvas meets a singular master stroke. There is no one thing. Because now there are many. Because soon there will be more. Because one is ever the beginning. Like the first link in an infinite chain, or the first rivet in the tallest skyscraper. The master stroke is found in the masterpiece. What will you begin?